Hey everyone, welcome back to Lawyers, Mediators International Show and Podcast, where we talk about law and conflict resolution to educate both professionals and everyday people. LMIpodcast.com, part of the LMI network. So I'm here today with Alberto Elisavetski of Argentina, who is, of course, probably the most well-known ODR professional down in Latin America, who's done so much work to spread the message of online dispute resolution. So Alberto, how are you doing today?
Fine, Mark. How are you today?
Good,
Nice to
good.
talk with you.
Yes, thank you so much. You're not a stranger to this show. You've been on multiple times before. And one of the reasons you're here today is to discuss with me something that we're building on LMI Network, which is called ZODR AI, ZODR AI. And so just wanted to bring people up to speed. And you might have seen one of the videos that was just recently published, about ZODR. And folks might see my screen share right now, but people are able to go watch it for themselves, and where we basically introduce the concepts of ZODR and why it's important, what it can do, why it's a pretty important, I guess, revolution for mediators, especially people who are into conflict resolution and who love AI and technology and who want to implement technology into their workflows. Also, it's meant to help not just regular mediators and arbitrators and folks who are into conflict resolution, but also to just encourage the public to get on the AI inside of conflict resolution bandwagon, because this is not going anywhere. It's relatively new technology, but we've basically found a way to sync in AI into your Zoom meetings so that when you're doing your mediations, you're able to go to your dashboard as a mediator and ask your AI questions, where AI becomes your co-mediator assistant to help you do your best work and to help deliver settlement agreements to your parties who normally would not uh, think through all the options. This is not to replace people. It's not to replace the human in the middle, the human in the loop. It's meant to help the mediator be augmented and empowered with technology to help them do their best work. So let me stop that share and share with you a little bit of it in action, and then we'll spend a few minutes with some questions. Okay, so you should see my screen with the Zodiar home dashboard on that's live. And this is a fake example case that I had done when I was doing the last recording. The case being Doe versus Doe to divorce over a home equity. And the description is the parties are disputing over a home. And we showed how you can upload documents and ODR meeting. And when we get the Zoom integration connected, you'll be able to see the actual Zoom meeting. So, Alberto, if you and I were on a Zoom meeting during mediation, we'll be able to pull in that Zoom meeting right into the actual case so that you don't have to have Zoom be a bodiless place where you hold a meeting. You can now incorporate an actual mediation tool, a dashboard that will integrate with the Zoom meeting. So that way, we like to call this giving Zoom mediations a body, actually making things tangible on a desktop, on a browser, so that everything can be done not just inside of Zoom, but also through the Zodiar platform. And of course, the Zodiar assistant is where most of the hard work is done, where the AI can be communicated with. So I will share one more screen that contains some additional cases. And in this screen, the reason I like showing it off is because it shows you multiple active cases. But when I go to the Kanban view, this is something I really like. Uh, we have the cases going from draft to active to recessed if it's necessary, to settled to impasse to close other result. And basically, the mediator can start off a case and move the case from draft to active. And they take the active case. If they go on a recess where the parties take some time off, they can recess the case. If then the mediator decides to go back to the active case and work it, it's back in active. And the mediator can then move the case forward to settled if it's in fact settled and the case is over and the people have reached resolution. And if it's not settled and it's impasse, then we move it to impasse, and therefore the parties have to go to court typically in order to have a judge resolve their dispute. But this gives you a graphically enriched way to be able to see a case's lifespan from beginning to end as it flows through. And back to the AI assistant. So if I go to my AI tool, I'm able to have a conversation with the case. And so I can choose between Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude. And I can also choose between all three if I want to compare the models in action. So let me select ChatGPT and Claude. And I can ask it questions. For example, help me resolve the dispute in the case involving Obama. And this is a fake case, obviously, but I had already told it some of the case facts. I had given it some documents, and in real time, my AI co-mediator assistant is there on the side to give me inspiration, ideas, tips, suggestions, pros and cons, and all the things that I might not think about just as a human. But I want to focus my time as a human to do things like de escalation, show empathy. I can help people work out their differences at a human level. But isn't it awesome to be able to have a real time tool that can pull in all the documents, data, parties' information, including the Zoom meeting itself, if the parties give consent? Of course, we need to talk about technology, security, and all the other things that come into play. But just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste on this. One of the things we're talking about as well is implementing this in at least three languages to start off. And so we're going to be focusing on English, Spanish, and French. And so this is truly a global tool so that people anywhere will be able to address mediations in whatever language. And so we're hoping that this will finally help mediators break the language barrier so that if you are a mediator and you speak only English like I do, and you really want to help two parties in conflict who speak Spanish, you'll be able to, because ZODR AI co-mediator within Zoom will have real-time translation. So we have a lot of technology behind the scenes doing all the work to help free the mediator to do their best work. And so I thank you so much for letting me have a chance to share some of what it can do with you. But let me know if you have any questions.
Well, thank you very much. You went through your Zoom ODR AI, which is extremely interesting for me, and I'm sure will be very interesting for all Latin American mediators, which basically use Zoom.
Yes.
I have a tool integrated. It's,
Yes.
I think, a huge difference with the market in general. But first of all, I would like to know if you were building a case management system for lawyers or mediators, what will it include from your perspective?
Yes. So it would be a command center. It would be something that needs to include lots of different pieces to the puzzle. It needs to not just be that broad term Zoom where people just kind of have a meeting, because Zoom was not always built for mediators, but we need to make it something specific, kind of like a scalpel to a surgeon, something specific that is meant for conflict resolution professionals. I like to say a lot that when Zoom was the necessary tool for people to use, it wasn't something that we all had a well, choice over. It was something that was dominating the market and many people were using it already. And so we had no choice. We had to use it. But what if we could go back in time and build Zoom up the way we wanted it to be as mediators? That's what ZODR is trying to do. And so some of the things we want have it be human focused so that the human is going to be in the middle. I know there are a lot of tools out there that are trying to maybe have a bot or some kind of robot going between people, but we want a human in the middle. We want this to brainstorm solutions. And so this ODR tool has to have AI in it to help people brainstorm, not just in the actual Zoom meeting, but also post meeting if the mediator is in recess, for example. It needs to have a scheduling tool. I didn't even show you under the hood all the different settings to be able to have Google Calendar, Microsoft Calendar, Apple Calendar to be able to sync with it so that you can have conflict checks and make sure that all your mediations and the cases you create are actually on your calendar. We plan to implement some kind of scheduling tool in the future, but that is a whole nother bunch of work because we've discovered that when people are in conflict, getting them to schedule something together can be very difficult. It needs to
Yes.
be something to help people get paid. Let's face it, mediation is a business, and mediators are also into making money so that they have a skill set, they can sell it as a service. And so, one thing we are implementing is Stripe integration so that if a mediator has Stripe an account, they can have their Stripe API connected to this. It needs to also connect with the big LLMs that you know. We talk about Gemini, we talk about Claude, we talk about ChatGPT. We want to give people a choice. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again and just show you what I mean when it comes to some of the integrations. And so this is back on the AI page, but let me go back to my settings tab. And on my settings tab, I have, of course, my personal information about the mediator. It's a fake person. It's Jane Doe. I have my preferences, 12 hour, 24 hours, and notifications. I have my integrations like Google, Apple, Microsoft, and of course, Zoom. I got my payments, and you can even send invoices to parties so that they can pay directly into uh, ZODR. And currently, the model is that the mediator gets all the money they make. We're not trying to build something to step in the middle between the mediator and the parties. This is literally a cash register for the mediator to do their best work and to hopefully get them paid for their services. And I think that'll be a big deal, actually. I have not personally seen a mediation ODR tool that helps mediators get paid. But that was one of the things that I personally was insistent on. And that is when we get to the why we're doing this, one of the whys is to give mediation online a purpose. And the purpose can be had if people are doing it for pecuniary gain, ultimately for financial gain. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's something to be said about providing a good service, for good money. And mediators and arbitrators would probably appreciate that. And also the customers who would benefit from it greatly.
Mark, this is very interesting because from our perspective, mediation should be a business, not a hobby.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's perfect from the point of view of the ethic. Talk about money because uh, it's a job, should be a profession, and
Correct.
we have we have had the ability to or the possibility to make money. But let me ask you other question. Uh, a lot of people who have a legal problems now just go to ChatGPT or other AI before even calling a lawyer. How revolutionary is that?
Yes, it's very revolutionary. This is a total paradigm shift. This goes back to, again, the why of why we're doing this. And that is to admit a truth. Everybody cheats with AI. People now are realizing that artificial intelligence can give them inspiration, give them ideas, and generate great information for them that they couldn't do themselves. And it also can reduce a lot of tasks that are typically routine and mundane. It could do it very quickly. And so, if people are already doing that in their private lives before they even talk to a lawyer or talk to a mediator, then why not the mediator? Why not the arbitrator themselves? Why can't we be empowered as well with the technology? Uh, it's a truth that I think a lot of professionals, mediators, and lawyers are realizing now, and that is before your parties ever come to you, before your client ever comes to you, they've already used AI to try to help them do the brainstorming and the investigations and the research to suggest best ways out, to suggest results or resolutions for their conflicts. And so we should not be naive that this is not going on. And so we need to accept the fact and also now try to implement that into our own lives and our own profession. And so this is the future. It's nothing that's going away. And I think as long as we have transparency, as long as we make sure people understand, listen, we're not just using some really cheap LLM that might be unsafe. We're using the big names, the top tier models of each LLM. And whether it's, again, the big three we've chosen, of course, are ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. But perhaps in the future, we'll develop more further as they keep getting trust in the marketplace. But we think that mediators need to accept this new reality and that this is a total paradigm shift. Everybody is using AI. We just need to use it smartly within this context.
Okay, thank you very much. It's clear for me your perspective now. And let me ask you the last question, at last but not least. So I know in 2025 you were at the ABA Legal Tech Show in Chicago. What different this time for you?
Yes. So in 2025, I had the opportunity to head out there. Every year, people should know that the annual legal tech show is done in Chicago, where mediators, lawyers, mainly lawyers, arbitrators, people who do the legal business, judges, they all get down to a convention hall and talk all things legal technology. It's been going on for many years. And so I got a chance to go the first time last year, and I got a chance to interview lots of the people on the LMI Network podcast. And one thing I realize is when I come back to this event, I want to make sure that I have my own legal tech or ODR tool that I can help show people. I'm fortunate to say that with a team of developers, we've been able to get something implemented, and that is what ZODR is. And sometimes I call it ZODR, sometimes I call it ZODR. I'm still wrestling with what it is in terms of name. Somebody joked with me recently that they don't quite understand Zodiac because they're pronouncing it Zotter. But for me, it's kind of stuck. So that's why I say Zodiac. But we are going to be there, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have a competition where we'll be able to present Zodiac to the public on stage in Chicago at the ABA Tech Show. And it will be a great opportunity. And so people should know that getting to the competition where you have a chance to show ZODR in action does require some public votes. And so in this video, I will make sure I add a link to the public survey where people can go and make their voice heard, and they can select that ZODR should be one of the tools that is featured. And so right now we're looking for the top 15 tools, and we are hoping that ZODR will be able to be featured in the ABA Tech Show just next month in Chicago. So, but thank you so much for those questions.
No, okay, no, thank you very much. Congratulations. I hope uh, we'll find ZODR on the top of the application at the Chicago event.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for the time. And hopefully, this will be one of many audio platforms that will continue to revolutionize conflict and help people resolve their
Okay.
disputes without having to go to court.
I look forward to continue working with you, and especially for my people in Latin America, had the opportunity to work with ZODR. Bye.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.